breaking down the Vikings from the perspective of a former NFL General Manager of the Year. It's Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, presented by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers.
Welcome to Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday during the Viking season by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers on 1500 ESPN. Available 24/7 on YouTube via links from the 1500 ESPN and Score North websites. I'm Jeff Diamond, former Vikings GM and former Tennessee Titans president. Our producer is AJ Fredrickson, does a great job putting the show together. And here we go. Winning streak is now at 5 for the Vikings after the 27-19 win over the Saints. And AJ, they head to Denver for a Sunday night game. The Broncos will be on a short week. Got a little dicey at the end of the game yesterday on Sunday as we record here on Monday, but they got it done, got the W.
Yeah, it was. I was excited to see what a guy like Josh Dobbs would have with a full week of preparation, and Jeff, he did not disappoint. I know it got dicey in the second half, but I don't think you can take away just how impressive of a win it was actually for the Vikings, given they're on their fourth quarterback of the season. They performed, the defense showed up, and frankly, it's always fun to get a win against the Saints.
Yeah, exactly right. There's that good rivalry with the Saints, even if Sean Payton is no longer here, but they'll see him next week in Denver. And so, yeah, it was definitely a big week. My theory, AJ, is that so much was made last year. The Vikings went 11-0 in one-score games, as we know very well, until that ill-fated playoff game against the Giants. Then they start the season this year with 3 losses in one-score games by 3, 6, and 4 points during that dreadful 0-3 start. And since then, the Vikings are 5-1 in one-score games, kind of a hidden stat. The only loss was to the Super Bowl champion Chiefs by 7 points. So perhaps Kevin O'Connell wanted to kind of pad that record in one-score games and get another one-score win against the Saints after they had a 24-3 lead and went ultra-conservative in the second half, which I don't think you can survive in the NFL doing that very often. And I know his theory is, Derek Carr got hurt, Jameis Winston's coming in, he's prone to turnovers, he did throw 2 bad interceptions to Mekhi Blackmon and to Byron Murphy in the fourth quarter. But even still, the Saints got within 1 score, 8 points down, and they had the ball. And so you've got to be careful in that situation, especially if you're playing a more high-powered offense. Even though the Saints have some good players, but when they play teams potentially in the playoffs, such as Philadelphia, San Francisco, Dallas, and even Detroit, who ran it up on the Chargers on Sunday, you can't be too conservative. I would have liked to have seen him maybe throw a short pass, do a run-pass option with Dobbs, do something to try to get another first down or two that would have closed out the game. And I know, obviously, the Chandler touchdown that was called back on the hold by O'Neal was a big play that cost them that opportunity to perhaps run out the clock. But even still, conservative play does not usually end well in the NFL, but all's well that ends well, and it did on Sunday for the Vikings, and now they are riding the longest winning streak currently in the NFL at 5 games as they head to Denver. So let's go to our highlights, and there were a lot of great highlights in the first half when the Vikings were rolling behind Josh Dobbs, and TJ Hawkinson had a tremendous first half, a record-setting half for a tight end with 10 catches for 128 yards in the first half. And our highlights courtesy of Adam Amin and Mark Schlereth and Fox. So let's start out with a really cool play, I thought, that O'Connell called in the second quarter, early second quarter. Ty Chandler on a wildcat quarterback position he's playing.
Oh, Dobbs is going to motion out. Ty Chandler getting ready for a direct snap. To the left with Darrisaw opening up the hole and a touchdown.
Christian Darrisaw, good to see him back in the lineup. He was very much missed in the previous game, and so that was definitely a great addition. He puts a great block on the outside. Vikings at that point are up 10-3, and moving later in that second quarter, DJ Wanham has had a really kind of a somewhat quiet because Danielle Hunter gets all the attention, and Danielle, rightfully so, is one of the best defensive players in the NFL, a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, had his 11th sack, which earned him a cool $1 million bonus on his contract incentive.
Must be nice.
Yeah, exactly. So, but he's deserved it. He's played great. Got to keep him healthy, certainly. But DJ Wonnum has really come on in recent weeks as Davenport's been hurt, and they can't really count on when he's going to be back necessarily. And Wonnum had a sack in this game, had a couple pressures, and here's a really nice stop on a third down play against Carr when he tried to scramble.
Carr climbing the pocket, wanted to go deep. Now he's got to run, and he gets hit from the backside by Wonnum, who saves a first down.
That's a big play early in the game. Vikings then are able to get some things going, have a really good drive, several long drives in this game. This is the culmination of an 82-yard, 9-play drive, tremendous athletic play by Josh Dobbs. And it was interesting to hear O'Connell talking after the game about the mobility that he brings, different from Kirk Cousins. Now, he may not be as accurate or whatever, but I'm not sure the quarterback play has fallen off at all with Josh Dobbs' performance the last 2 weeks compared to what Cousins has done. And definitely in terms of mobility, Dobbs brings that extra element. He's the second-ranked rushing quarterback in the NFL behind Lamar Jackson. And here's a fantastic play.
T.J. Hawkinson back in. 3rd down and 6. Stepping up, Dobbs. Nothing downfield. Spinning away. Gets a block from Darisaw. Dobbs trying to shake his way to the end zone.
And that play was crazy because it was 3rd and 6, or 3rd and, I should say,
3rd and 6,
but it was eventually a 7-yard touchdown run. He traveled 42 yards on that scramble to get the score. So he's shifty, he's shaky. You could see kind of like the mind games because there's nobody receiver-wise, but he knows those guys have the back to where the receiver would be. So he points out, does a little pump fake, and that's enough to just get an extra like half foot on the outside to sneak around the Saints player and get into the end zone. Just great stuff by him.
That was a fantastic athletic play by Dobbs, and his performance in the first 2 weeks of the season here in Minnesota is actually record-setting. He's the first quarterback or first player in league history with 400 passing yards, 100 rushing yards, and no interceptions in his first 2 games with the team. So a great tribute, a nice little record to have, but he's happy to get that first win. They didn't give him credit for the win in Atlanta because he didn't start the game. So this is a win definitely on his record as he heads to Denver and hopefully get another win for himself and the Vikings next Sunday night. So the Vikings at this point are up 17-3. They get the ball back after a big pressure by Danielle Hunter. And here's a touchdown pass in the last minute of the half, actually 16 seconds left in the first half, when everybody assumed the Vikings were just setting up for a field goal for Greg Joseph, but not Kevin O'Connell in this case. He took a shot, and Dobbs took a shot to Hawkinson. On the game, Hawkinson, and I'll say this, it was great planning by the Vikings coaches because going into this game, the Saints ranked 25th in the league. Even though their defense was a top 10 defense, they were 25th in defending tight ends. So it was a perfect situation for Hawkinson to have a big game, and here's a 28-yard touchdown pass.
In Witten more than a decade ago. Dobbs down the middle, right on cue. It's Hawkinson for the touchdown.
24-3 at the half. The Vikings have run up 297 yards in the first half to 110 for the Saints. 18 minutes of time possession. Looks like a blowout coming, but not so quick. And before we go to the second half highlights, let's talk about our great sponsor, Buick GMC, the select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers. There are trucks, then there's the truck, GMC Sierra, with available features like the V8 engine, the ultimate luxury interior, and of course, the world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate, GMC Sierra. Not just any truck, the truck. GMC's commitment to professional-grade engineering is on full display at your local GMC dealer. Come take a test drive today and see for yourself. We are professional-grade GMC. Well-qualified buyers step up to GMC with 0.9% APR on 2023 Sierra light-duty models. plus no monthly payments until 2024. See your local GMC dealer today. Length of contract limited, deferred monthly payments for 120 days. Excludes residents of Pennsylvania and Maine. Must finance with GM Financial. Down payment required at signing, if applicable. Finance charges accrue from date of financing. Some customers will not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 12/4/23. So we go to the second half. And the Vikings start to go a little conservative. The home crowd, which O'Connell saluted after the game, had a nice impact on this game. And the Vikings got their second home win of the season. They're now 2-3 at home, 4-1, very impressive on the road as they head to Denver. The crowd forced actually 2 false starts by the Saints, which killed 2 drives for them on a third and a fourth down with the penalties. And another thing about this football team in the last 5 weeks especially, not only have they turned around the whole turnover problem and they're +5 in turnovers over this winning streak to get back to -3 for the season, much better than when they were -8 or -9 earlier in the season that cost them all those games. And when the win over the Bucs and the Chargers is good now on the standings, if they were, say, 8-2 instead of 6-4 and sitting right there with the Lions, but it is what it is, as they say. And the penalties in this case, the Saints had 9 penalties in this game, the Vikings only 5, and for much less yardage, so that was really important. The Vikings in the game knock Derek Carr out. Daniil Hunter with a big hit on him, and in comes Jameis Winston. We know what kind of talent he is as a former number 1 overall pick, but he does take his chances. In this case, he throws one up that Byron Murphy is battling with Chris Olave in the end zone, and here's what happens.
Pressure coming, launches for Olave. He came down with it, and it's ruled a touchdown.
That's just a fantastic play by a first-round receiver in Chris Olave. Perfect throw from Winston. Brings it to a 2-score game with a 2-point conversion, 27-11. Getting a little bit more nervous about the game, the Vikings fans are, and the coaches. And the Vikings have a drive, set up a field goal. Greg Joseph had made 2 field goals earlier, but he misses from 54 yards, which is a big miss in this game. Would have created a 3-score game and gave New Orleans good field position. They go down, and here's another touchdown pass, which Byron Murphy, he needs to make this play on a rookie receiver. He's got to knock that ball out. He's got to be, first of all, be a little closer. You'll see on the highlight.
Winston to his left. Nothing downfield. Back towards Perry. Jump ball. Simultaneous. It's a touchdown from one official. The backside judge came in and said touchdown. Now it's ruled a score. A.T. Perry, his first NFL touchdown, and he ripped it away from Byron Murphy.
Now it's 27-19 with another 2-point conversion from Kamara, their running back. And the Vikings actually did a good job in run defense in this game, as they have for the last several weeks, and have climbed the ranks to being 10th against the rush in the NFL this year, which is a huge improvement over recent years. The defense as a whole, number 13. And we kind of said going into the season, if the Vikings can have a top 15 defense, not necessarily don't have to have a top 10, if they're top 15 in defense, along with a great offense that they have, they could really do some damage this coming season. Well, now they're number 13 in defense, which is certainly a good sign. 27-19, as we say, but the Vikings defense, as the offense is sputtering along with a ton of running plays. The last 6 plays the Vikings ran, 6 offensive snaps, all runs. As I said, I would like to see O'Connell try something to get a first down, a little play action, or do something, run-pass option for Dobbs. But again, I think he was very wary of the Saints, who came into the league with the top turnover ratio or top takeaway number in the league with 18. So the Vikings have to batten down the hatches, and here's a big interception, the first career interception for third-round pick Mekhi Blackman.
3rd and 3. Up the middle, Metellus. Winston launches a high ball, and Mekhi Blackman comes down with his first NFL interception.
And now we'll give Josh Metellus credit for forcing that turnover with his good rush and didn't hit Winston in the head or get dropped, roughing the passer. But Josh Metellus is, I think, a really interesting player this year, AJ, from the standpoint that early on he struggled in coverage. I was a little wary of their 3-safety look with him as one of the 3 safeties with Harrison Smith and Cam Bynum. But he's gotten better and better every week, making bigger plays, has shown himself to be one of the better blitzers on the team, and that was an example of that. Then in the kind of the sealing the deal, Winston again throws it up, interception by Byron Murphy.
At the plus 46, down by 8. Famous Winston loads up. Looking for Shaheed, not even close. Byron Murphy with the pick, but remember there's a flag on this play.
And the flag was not against the Vikings, and just a huge mistake by Winston in that situation. It's a first down play. They're in Vikings territory. He doesn't need to try the bomb at that point, and that was the killer play for the Saints in this game. Vikings get the win, improved to 6-4 on the season, 5th straight win, and they're rolling. Let's hear from Kevin O'Connell after the game.
Get another win at US Bank Stadium was our goal, coming off of our last performance and what the crowd was like a few weeks back, and then to have them show up again today. I thought the crowd was phenomenal, the juice, the energy, and it really fueled and really got us going, especially in that first half. Complimentary effort all the way around in the first half. Would have liked to, maybe have the chance to put the football game away. Got a touchdown, pulled off the board there on a short yardage situation. But good defense over there. Some really good skill players, and offensively they've been doing some good things. So it was going to take a complete team effort, 60 minutes of football, and we got it done. So excited for that group. Locker room, feeling very strongly about where we're at as a football team right now, but also total awareness that it's back to work and a continued emphasis on improving. I want to give you guys an update. Jordan Hicks, a lower leg, kind of contusion, and he did not return. Once he came back in the game for a few plays, did not return. We'll see how that swelling looks and if we can get that to go down. Caleb Evans did not return with a calf. And then Alex Madison did not return with a concussion sustained there. But, a lot of guys stepped up. Didn't have KJ, didn't have, some guys that we've been without for a few weeks. And that next man up mentality continues to flourish with guys ready to step on the grass and go do their jobs to help us win football games. I thought TJ Hawkinson was, as good as I've ever seen him when we absolutely needed him the most, just like he was last week. Can't say enough about TJ. And then, of course, Josh, having fun coaching him right now just because, there's a lot that goes into it. But then when we get to play football, he goes out there and he looks like he's enjoying himself. I know his teammates are enjoying watching him continue to get acclimated to our team. And just really proud of Josh. And Josh knows he's ready to get back to work and continue the momentum on this thing.
When O'Connell's talking about Jordan Hicks in his media session today, he kind of got into a little more detail on that injury, which was kind of a contusion to his shin, and he actually had to go to the hospital after the game, O'Connell said. And he said very doubtful and really not necessarily counting on him for this week. And the Vikings, it was reported today, are going to sign Anthony Barr, the longtime Vikings linebacker, to help fill that void. And Barr was a player who handled the calling of the signals for many years. Now, not necessarily in Brian Flores' defense, of course, that was under Zimmer. And so the plan is that Ivan Pace, the rookie linebacker, will be what they call the green dot, who calls the signals, relays the signals from Flores. But they've also got guys like Harrison Smith that are available to do that too if needed. We'll see on Hicks. He's the Vikings' leading tackler, and it is a loss. And I think he's playing a lot better than he did last year, definitely this year. Hopefully he will not be out too long, but it sounded like they had some concern with the fluid buildup in that shin. I think it's kind of a tribute to this team when you think about how they've been winning with so many starters out. It's impressive. It shows the improved depth on the team. You talk about going 5-0, which is very well documented without Justin Jefferson, of course. and 2-0 without Kirk Cousins. But they also faced the Saints without number 3 receiver KJ Osborne was inactive with a concussion. Their number 2 back Cam Akers was out with an Achilles. I think Ty Chandler is a very talented player and may be their best back. I think Madison is still a good player, but I think Chandler gives them that extra speed, that extra dimension as a receiving back, and may not have the power of Alex, but he's a good player. We saw that yesterday with his performance. And then you think about the guys, for example, Caleb Evans that was out with a calf injury, and guys stepping in for him, including Andrew Booth, who we've kind of bashed over the last couple of years in terms of a second-round pick who's been basically a non-contributor, along with Lewis Seen, the first-round pick, who still is not a contributor at safety. But Booth came in and looked like he was doing some decent things. So he may be counted out a little more, especially if Evans isn't back. We'll see about Madison. But again, shows the depth, and especially at receiver, when you think about Brandon Powell has been a really important player for this team during Jefferson's absence, and then with Osborne being out, Jalen Naylor came in, made a 16-yard catch. The depth on a team is really important in a season. We'll see how many of these key guys they can get back. Marcus Davenport's been out. As we've said, Wanham has stepped up. Mm-hmm. We'll see if Davenport, I'm not sure they can ever count on him to stay healthy. He couldn't do it with the Saints last year. And O'Connell talked about him, that he had an ankle procedure. They're not sure how soon he can be back. And then that number 2 quarterback is another question for this week. Will Jaron Hall make it back from his concussion? Nick Mullins, O'Connell talked about, he may be ready to start practicing, which is a good thing, because I'll tell you what, AJ, if they had to play Sean Mannion, if something happened to Dobbs, that would not be a good scenario for the Vikings based on his lackluster play in the last couple of years we've seen from him. So the depth has been important. And, of course, the biggest question, will Justin Jefferson make it back this week? I think he will. It's Sunday night, national television. And so I think JJ is chomping at the bit to get back. And
I know there's a little back and forth playfully on Twitter between him and Mekhi Blackman, because after the win, Justin Jefferson tweeted, "Can't wait to get back with this group," like blah, blah, blah. And then Mekhi Blackman quoted it this morning and said, "Yeah, hurry up. Where are you?"
Exactly. And you think about winning 5 in a row without him, I don't know anybody thought that would happen. So before we hear from Josh Dobbs and TJ Hawkinson, let's hear from our great sponsor, Buick GMC.
Well-qualified buyers step up to GMC with 0.9% APR on 2023 Sierra light-duty models. Plus, no monthly payments until 2024. See your local GMC dealer today. Length of contract limited. Deferred monthly payments for 120 days. Excludes residents of Pennsylvania and Maine. Must finance with GM Financial. Down payment required at signing if applicable. Finance charges accrue from date of financing. Some customers will not qualify. Not available with lease and some other offers. Take new retail delivery by 10/31/23.
So let's hear from Josh Dobbs, who has been remarkable, to say the least, the last 2 games for the Vikings.
I first just want to talk about, the fans and the atmosphere. It's tremendous to be out here from the home side. I've seen this game, from the visiting side. So just to have the crowd behind us out there, it was electric. I had a lot of fun, on this field. And then, the game, I thought it was great just seeing guys step up, offense, defense, playing complementary football as we did last week, and just make plays all day. Offense, we got hot, especially early in the game. Different guys were able to make explosives, keep the chains moving, make big plays for me, which obviously helped simplify the game and slow it all down. And then defense in the second half did a tremendous job of having our back and closing out the game in the fourth quarter. So great win. We'll continue pushing forward. As we always say, there's always room for improvement, but we'll definitely enjoy this for today and tomorrow and get back to work for next Sunday.
Was the Skull chant better in person for you?
Yeah, it definitely was better in person. It definitely was better in person. Chris O'Hara, QB coach, came up during it all and he said, "Hey, just like, I was warming up, getting ready for the first drive." He said, "Just take a second just to take it all in." And so, yeah, it was a cool moment, but it's definitely rocking in person.
Very likable guy, Josh Dobbs. And let's hear from TJ Hawkinson after his outstanding day ended up with 134 yards on 11 catches.
I mean, I think it's a lot of it is the people around me. You know, I just want to play for this team. You know, I love these guys in this locker room, love these coaches, love the organization, and you know, just ultimately just wanted to be out there with these guys. So, I mean, you know, there was a couple that had me going, but, you know, at the end of the day, you know, a win helps every bruise. So just excited to be back in this locker room with a dub.
When you say had me going, what does that feel like?
Which part?
You said the hits, I think, had you going. What is?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you know, you get hit a few times, you feel it, you know, but at the end of the day, you know, you get back up and you want to go back, you know, just as much as it hurt, you just want to go back in and show them that even at 80% you can still do this, you know. So I just wanted to go out there and play with my guys, and you know, they all balled today. Josh was on a mission, and you gotta love that from a guy. You know, I've gotten to know Josh real well, and just super happy to have him in purple.
And TJ having a great season, heading to another Pro Bowl for sure. And let's hear from Christian Darrisaw as far as his reaction. Great to have him back in the lineup for the Vikings offensive line, certainly.
So we just stick together, no matter what the situation may be. We know we just gotta, all 11, whoever's on the field at a time, we just gotta execute, do our job. Everybody do their job, and good things will happen. And hopefully we get these guys rolling back in on these weeks coming up. But however we gotta do it, we're gonna get it done.
Christian, with the way he can scramble, TJ was saying, it's kind of like street ball.
Yeah.
Like the play just extended, it's never over.
Right.
We all have to be ready. How fun is that?
It's amazing. Just knowing, like I said earlier, like no matter what the coverage may be on the back end, guys may, like, sometimes it's good coverage, and Josh just has the ability to use his legs, and I guess the defenders forget about it, and he goes out, breaks play, and scores touchdowns.
So looking around the NFL, on Sunday, the Houston Texans pulled off the biggest upset, 30-27 win in Cincinnati. C.J. Stroud continued his march to Offensive Rookie of the Year honors, 356 passing yards against the Bengals. A walk-off winning field goal by Matt Amendola from 38 yards. It was one of 5 game-winning kicks as time expired, a record in the NFL, including the Lions, unfortunately for the Vikings, that won the shootout in L.A. against the Chargers, and in a game where Jared Goff threw for 333, Amon-Ra St. Brown had 156 yards receiving, touchdown, and they got their walk-off field goal to win that game and move to 7-2, game and a half ahead of the Vikings. Vikings still within striking range because they have 2 meetings with the Lions coming up the last 3 weeks of the season. Vikings, it was a big win against a team they may be competing for a wild card spot with the Saints, and they've opened up a 1.5 game lead in that race for the final wild card spot, only a half game behind the Cowboys and the Seahawks at 6-3. The 49ers had a big win in Jacksonville. Steelers took care of the Packers. Packers now 3-6. And that AFC North is a loaded division. Cincinnati's in last place in that division. Hard to believe. The 2 Super Bowl teams, the Eagles and Chiefs, were off, and they'll play on their byes. After their byes, they play a week from tonight on Monday night in Kansas City. And so we'll be back next week and talk about breaking down the Vikings and the Broncos. Mm-hmm. As we said, Vikings renewing their rivalry with Sean Payton, with Russell Wilson. The Broncos have won 2 straight going into Monday night's game in Buffalo, where we would expect them to get beat, but who knows in the NFL these days. And the Broncos defense, ranked last in the league, should be an opportunity for Dobbs and company to have a big day. We'll see how that turns out, but they're going to have to contain Russell Wilson and some pretty good receivers in Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. So we'll be back next Monday to break down the Vikings and the Broncos after the Sunday night game. And this has been Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you every Monday during the Viking season by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers on 1500 ESPN, available 24/7 on YouTube via links from the 1500 ESPN and Score North websites. I'm Jeff Diamond with AJ Fredrickson. Everybody have a good week, and we will talk to you next Monday.